Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel. It's Vlogmas in July 2021, day 30. And we have a special bonus project today. So if you want to see how to make a super simple pillow cover like this one, please stay tuned. I'm really excited about this project that I'm going to share with you today. I wrote it out, or I wrote what I thought the steps should be earlier today, and I tried it out on this little pillow cover, and so now I get to do it about 19 more times. Normally this would be a fabric haul Friday, but it sort of still is because it's using this fat quarter bundle that I got from Piece by Piece when I was in Biloxi. So I told you in that video that my sister asked me to make some pillow covers for her out of these fat quarters. So I think there are 20 in here, so hopefully she can get 20 pillow covers out of this. I went ahead and made one just to practice, and so I have a couple more that I'm going to do right now. The first thing that you need to know for this little type of pillow cover is just a simple little envelope cover that she can take off and wash. Like if something happens to whatever, she can take it off and wash it, and then just stuff the pillow back in there. Is the measurement, and she's asked for 10 by 10 pillow covers. These are approximate, like it looks a little bit more rectangular than square, but I think it's going to be fine for what she wants to do with it. I have a one already sitting on the ironing board that I'm kind of working on. I think I'm going to make 2 at a time as a part of this video. So the first thing that I did was I pressed my fat quarter, and you can see it here. It's already been pressed, and I have it sitting on my 18 by 24 inch ruler. Typically a fat quarter is 18 inches by 22 inches, give or take a little bit. That's the estimate that we're going for. So I have it set up with the one end kind of on the 0 line, and then the other end goes down to 21 or 22. And the first thing I need to do is cut a rectangle out of this. I'm going to look for a rectangle that is 10.5 by 21 inches. So I'm going to cut that. I'll start here at the 0 line. And it might not be perfect, but it'll be close enough because this one has a little bit of overhang on it. So I'm going to cut this off first. I'll stand. I don't know if you'll still be able to see my face here, but I'm going to cut it here. Okay. All right. And even if it's not perfect, and it's not, I'm just going to move it down a little bit. Okay. And then I need to cut from this end. I'm going to cut at the 21 inch line, and on this particular fat quarter, that's mostly the selvage because this fat quarter is a little smaller. Okay, so just lining it up at the 21, giving it a cut. All right, and so this is what's left off of this end, and then I'm going to cut down the center, not exactly the center, but I'm going to cut at 10.5. Alrighty. And here we go. So I might be able to, well, let me cut this first. So from each of the fat quarters, this is about how much is left. And it's a pretty good bit. I will either send this back to her or I will ask her if I can have it. And whatever she says is fine. I don't need any more fabric, but every little bit helps. Okay, now from this point, I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold under like a 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to fold that under about 1/8 of an inch and press it. So I'm going to do that for both sides, and then I'll meet you at the sewing machine. I want to show you this up close before I go to the sewing machine. I pressed it under where this seam is first, and then I went back and pressed that seam under there. So you can see it, that it's folded over itself. And I'm going to give this a nice stitch to give it a finished edge. Let me do that at the machine. I'll zoom in a little bit, and I'll probably speed up the video because I am making 2 at a time. The second one is right here. So I'm just doing that to make leader enders. So I'm going to zoom in, then speed it up so you can see everything starting now. So I have the piece already sewn on the ends. Now I brought it back to my cutting mat because I need to put it at a 10 by 10 measurement. And on this ruler, there's a 4-inch square, the 8-inch square here, the, wait, no, 4 inches, 6 inches, 8, and 10. So I'm just going to try to line it up so that it gets in the 10-inch lines here. And then I'm going to overlap the pieces to get a 10-inch measurement. And I'm just kind of lining it up to the very edge here. And then I'm going to take it like this over to the ironing board, and I'm going to press it wrong sides together. So I'll do that, and we'll meet at the sewing machine again. Wait, actually before we do that, I'm going to scoot it down because the envelope is it's not big enough. It's too weird. Because I just want a tiny flap so that it'll be easier. I feel like it'll be easier to get the pillow out if the flap is a little bit smaller. So here we go. And so that's how much of a flap will be left over. Okay? So I'm going to go press it and then go to the sewing machine. Before I go to the sewing machine, I need to show you that I made a huge mistake. I don't know how huge it was, but I made a mistake on this first one. I actually, when I was folding it, I thought that this was the 10-inch measurement, but actually it's this. It's the light gray. Okay, so this one, it's more like 9-ish by 10-ish. Yeah. So I might have to just eat this one because it's too little. Once I did it correctly with this one, you can see that it's closer to a square. So hopefully this one will be right. And then I'll have to decide if I'm gonna do this one because it'll still work. It'll just be the pillow will just be squoze in there. I think that'll be fine. I'll ask her what she wants me to do. I'm gonna go and sew this one. I'm just gonna sew on the sides, the raw edges, a 1/4 inch in. Let's go to the sewing machine and get it done. I'm only gonna sew one side of this on camera because of the other one is gonna be the leader ender for this one. So I just wanna make sure that I can do both of them at once. I have I've back stitched at the edge. I'm going to back stitch at this end as well. And so I'm kind of working toward a 1/4 inch, but if it's not perfect, I'm not going to stress about it. And I'm going to back stitch at the end. I'll finish the other one and I'll show you this one once I'll meet you back at the table. I have gone ahead and clipped the corners on the pillow cover. And now I'm just going to flip it inside out. I'm a little bit nervous because of the flap is like very little now that I'm at the right measurement. I'm going to try to poke the corners out just a tad. I'm not going to really stress about that. So, but I am going to try to push them out a little bit. And then I'm going to give this a nice press before I take it back to the sewing machine for one last stitch, or really technically two last stitches. So let's see. Yeah, that flap is just tiny. I might have to go back to the other measurement just to get a decent flap on it. And I think that'll be okay. I think my sister will be okay with that. But here, so just give it a quick press on the sides. And I want to get this side seam as flat as I can for the next step. All right. And the very last thing that I'm going to do is put, let me come close. I'm going to do a stitch 1/8 of an inch off of the side here. And I am going to back stitch at the overlap of the supposed flap that this one doesn't really have. But I'll back stitch here and on the other side, and then I'll back stitch at the top and at the bottom. So I'll do that, and then I'll meet you back. I have both of the pillow covers complete. They look really good, and they were very easy to make. So I'm happy that I can do this for my sister, for her little students. They're going to, hopefully they're going to love their little special pillows. So when they sit on the floor, they have a little cushion for themselves. And I think that she said that once they get them, they will be their own personal pillows. So they're going to own them after she gives them to them. So, or after the school year. I'm not sure how she's going to do that. But either way, it's going to be really cool and exciting to share these with them. Here's the other one. I'm going to hold it up next to the ones I just did so you can see the size difference. It's like a 1/2 inch. Or maybe an inch. Closer to an inch difference. But I'll ask her if she still wants it. I think it'll be okay. It'll just be a nice tight fit on the pillow. If you have any questions about what you've seen in this video, this was my favorite so far, please leave any questions in the comments below. Thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!